Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the fourth in the series of the Leadership Dialogues organized by the Center for Social Justice. My name is Soji Sojitete, a leader at the CSJ, and today I will be joined by Jifa Bampo, who's had a storied career in the Ghanaian media landscape. Many of us know about Jifa Bampo. Today we are very privileged to have her with us, and she would be the moderator of the session with Honorable Dr. MUSTAPHA ABDUL-HAMID. Before I go any further, I just want to express appreciation to His Excellency the President, Nana Akufo-Addo, who has done a great job of facilitating this session and making it possible for his message to be put out on this particular platform. On the CSJ end, we also have Stephen Kemeche, who will be co-facilitating, and Priska Atoxia, who will be providing technical support. Today, we are very honored to host Honorable Dr. MUSTAPHA ABDUL-HAMID, who is the Deputy Campaign Manager National for the New Patriotic Party. So clearly a heavyweight who's been making a lot of waves in the news in the past couple of weeks. I think he is finishing very, very hard. So prepare for some exciting things tonight. The Center for Social Justice really is a think tank that has been set up for patriots, for academics, and for activists who are trying to create equal opportunities for the citizenry to enjoy the wealth of their society as we advocate for people-centered development. There are mainly 5 thematic areas that guide the work that we do. One is education and social transformation, health and equity, gender and social inclusion, finance and economy, and governance, legal and constitutional affairs. And today we are most privileged to have an expose on the NPP manifesto, and there will be sufficient time. We often receive feedback that folks want to engage. So there will be sufficient time for Jifa to ask some very powerful questions that Honorable would also be able to answer. Meeting arrangements, I think since we are not speaking and it's mainly going to be Honorable, I would say that you can mute yourself whilst he's presenting so that we can be able to take in the full message that he has to offer. And before I go on, I would just want to now switch on to an introduction, because one of the things that we do at the leadership series is to be able to give a little bit of an insight into the profile of the speakers, because it's not just about the politicking, but also to learn about the journeys of some of our esteemed speakers as a way of providing some inspiration for young people. And I think Honorable has a wonderful trajectory in his whole life that I think would serve as a good learning point for a number of us. So I would read a brief profile for the Deputy Campaign Manager for the New Patriotic Party, and then also the Minister for Zongos and Inner Cities Development. And then after that, he would have the platform to present highlights of the manifesto over 25 minutes, after which we would engage in a question and answer session. Now, whilst he's speaking, if you have particular questions, you can chat it into the chat function, and it will be incorporated into the overall set of questions to be asked. So with that, I would go to the profile. MUSTAPHA ABDUL-HAMID is a Ghanaian politician and lecturer. He is the Minister for Inner City and Zongo Development and the former Minister for Information. In September 2017, he completed and was awarded a PhD in Religious Studies by the University of Cape Coast. MUSTAPHA ABDUL-HAMID's research interests are in the area of Islamic mysticism, political thought in Islam, Islam and gender, and Islam in Ghana. He has published extensively in reputable journals around the world. MUSTAPHA ABDUL-HAMID showed an early interest and capacity for debate in Boko Secondary School, where he had his ordinary level education, and at Tamale Secondary School, where he had his advanced level education. He was a member of the debating teams of both schools. MUSTAPHA was such a prolific debater and was feared by any opponents who met the schools that he represented. He is also a faithful adherent of the Islamic religion and prior to being Minister for Inner City and Zongo Development, was already very much involved in Islamic activities in Muslim communities across the country. During his student days at the University of Cape Coast, he was once the president of the Ghana Muslim Students Association and the Students Representative Council. MUSTAPHA ABDUL-HAMID has worked in various capacities as a strategy planning manager and client service manager with various advertising and marketing companies such as the Media Magic and Research Systems and Ghana Advertising and Marketing Company. He also worked with unedited newspapers such as the defunct High Street Journal and the Daily Statesman. He was also the news editor at Choice FM. No wonder Jifa told me that the minister is a communications expert. Prior to his appointment as Minister for Information in March 2017, he was a lecturer at the Department of Religion and Human Values of the University of Cape Coast. Let's welcome Honorable Dr. MUSTAPHA ABDUL-HAMID, Minister for Inner City and Zongo Development and Deputy National Campaign Manager of the ruling party, the New Patriotic Party. Honorable, please take it out from here.
Well, good evening, Dr. Sojitete. I hope I pronounced the name correctly.
Very well. It's good. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. I think that you said it before. I think I should also thank the president because, quite frankly, it's the president who wrote to me saying that I should represent him on this platform because he had prior commitments and that he respects your platform and didn't want to turn it down completely. So he asked me to represent him. So I'm grateful to the president and to you also for not saying to me that I am not a presidential candidate, so you won't allow me on the platform. Anyway, having said that, first of all, you said in 25 minutes, I should present to you what the NPP manifesto is. Well, as you are all aware, we have titled our manifesto for 2020 as Leadership of Service, Protecting Our Progress, Transforming Ghana for All. And this manifesto is premised, or if you want, it's a sequel to the 2016 manifesto, which we titled Change, an Agenda for Jobs. Now, following from that, we are now arguing that we've made some progress this past 4 years, and then we need to protect that progress in order to transform Ghana for all. Now, that transformation in the past 4 years has been built on certain pillars, and I'll enumerate on those pillars. First of all, President Akufo-Addo believes that for any country to make progress and eradicate poverty, ignorance, and disease. Hello? For any country to be able to eradicate ignorance, poverty, and disease, that country ought first of all to eradicate illiteracy. So first of all, as far as he's concerned, education is his #1 priority. And that is how come in the last 4 years, we've been building the education sector, one, through teacher-centered programs, incentives for motivating teachers to be able to do their work, ensuring that all our schools have the teaching inputs to be able to allow teachers to do their work, and then the implementation of the famous free senior high school policy. Because our goal is that in about 20 to 30 years, every single Ghanaian should have at least a senior high school certificate. That is the goal. That way, then you are well on your way to creating a well-educated society, which will, as I said, then eradicate ignorance, poverty, and disease. Recently, there was a research that was done that has shown that when you go to our prisons, you hardly find people with degrees or diplomas and so on in the prisons. The prisons are populated by young people who fell out either at junior high school or even didn't get an opportunity to go to school at all. So it means that there is a direct relationship between education and human development. And so that's the #1 plank of our project, which we want to deepen in the next 4 years if we get the opportunity on Monday, December 7th. Number two is that all of these things that we are talking, okay, let me talk about industrialization and agriculture before I come to the foundations. Now, industrialization, we believe that we cannot continue in what Mr. President calls the Gettysburg economy, an economy that simply exports raw material. He's always talked about the fact that between Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire, for example, together we are the world's largest producers of cocoa. And the cocoa industry in the world is worth billions of dollars. Yet we make only thousands and millions of dollars from cocoa rather than so how come that Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire are not able to make the true value of what their cocoa is supposed to get them? It's because we are exporting the cocoa raw. There is no value added to the product. Now, it's not just cocoa. We actually have a comparative advantage in the production of nearly every single food crop that you can think about, whether it is maize, it is rice. When I was growing up in the north, we had the Nasia rice mills in the northern region, and we used to produce rice and export and all of that. So the agricultural industry collapsed. So the president says, for us to do industrialization, we must also build agriculture, because it is this agriculture that will feed the industry, add value to the products that we produce, and then we can earn some more money or better money or more foreign exchange to be able to take care of our country. A typical example is the Ekumfi fruit juice factory, which is up and running now. You know, hitherto, there used to be those plantations of pineapple in the central region, which we were exporting raw and earning virtually nothing from the export of pineapple. Today, the Ekumfi fruit juice factory is there. Look at the amount of sweet potato that is produced in the central region. Also, sometimes it is allowed to waste by the roadsides and so on. But the Casa de Ropa factory, which has also been set up under 1D, 1F in the central region, is now processing the sweet potato, adding value to it. It is better preserved, it's being exported, and then we are making money. So there is no doubt in my mind that industrialization is the key. Apart from earning foreign exchange and so on, industrialization is also the way by which we can employ the thousands and perhaps millions of young people who finish school every year and are in search of jobs. So I've talked about education, I've talked about agriculture, I've talked about industrialization. These are the key drivers of our project. Now, the foundation of all that is the economy. Because truly, if you don't have a sound economy, there is no way that you are going to be able to do all the good things that I have enumerated or talked about. Now, let me give you a typical example. By the end of December 2016, our country was basically cutting down on every national expenditure that is of value. So we were canceling nursing training allowances, we're canceling teacher training allowances, we're canceling book and research allowances by lecturers. We were cutting down on almost everything. Our NHIS was at the brink of collapse and all of those things. Why? We weren't able to have a proper functioning ambulance service. The entire ambulance service in our country at that time had only 55 ambulances serving 30 million people. So really, everything was in shambles because the economy was bad. If you don't have a sound economy. So we came into office with the mantra that we were going to fix the economy first, because everything else rests on the economy. It's only when you have strengthened the economy, you are able to conserve money, and then you can do all the good things that you would do. And indeed, we set ourselves to do it. And in doing that, you would remember, we abolished about 17 taxes that we called nuisance taxes, because we said we were moving from taxation to production, to allow people, to free industry, to be able to produce more and thereby earn more money, expand their industry, and be able to employ more people. So we abolished all of these taxes. We tackled the power challenge very seriously. And as you can see today, Ghanaians have almost taken the power that is on, or the lights that are on, for granted. forgetting that prior to this, for 5 years, we were in what has become popularly known as doomsday. So in fixing the power challenges, what you have done also is that you have given life to many small and medium scale enterprises in Ghana. The medium SME sector of the economy accounts for about 80% of industries in Ghana. And all of these people were closing shops. People were closing their barbering salons. People were closing hairdressing salons. People were closing tailoring shops, etc., because there was no power to power their machines to be able to do anything. And sent many young people home, apprentices and so on, who were learning a trade to be productive, were all sent home to go and idle or rot or whatever, because there was no power to keep them gainfully employed or gainfully engaged. So we tackled the power challenge seriously because we thought that that also is the engine that would allow industry to thrive. So we did that. Now, in these 4 years, now let me talk about the banking crisis also. When we came, about 4.6 million depositors were at risk of losing their deposits, their hard-earned money, because the banking industry was challenged, because the regulation wasn't correct, supervision wasn't correct, and people did as they pleased. We tackled the banking industry, cleaned up the industry, injected 21 billion cedis into the banking industry in order to be able to safeguard the deposits of people and save people's jobs. Now, when you do that, what you have done basically is to restore macroeconomic stability, restore confidence in the economy that would then allow people to come into your country and invest. And I'm sure you would not think that it is by accident that all the automotive companies are trooping to Ghana to set up shop. Now you can buy a VW Passat car in Ghana for 60,000, 70,000, 80,000 cedis. Because now these cars are being assembled here in Ghana. And so that one also would employ people. It would make cars cheaper. It would make our roads safer, and generally help us to earn more money as a country to be able to move our country forward. So when we say that we want to consolidate our progress, this is exactly what we mean. When we talk about the health sector, I've already talked about how we have revived the ambulance service. We introduced the zip line, which is this drone service delivery. I think in the whole of Africa is the second of its kind, apart from the one that is run in Rwanda. And this allows us to deliver timely medicines and needed medical supplies to people in rural areas who need them in order to save their lives. That is going on. You can see we have an agenda called Agenda 111, which is basically to have one district hospital in every single district that do not have district hospitals. The president in the last few months has been going around commissioning some hospitals that were abandoned after the Kufuor era. We call them the Eurojet projects. He did one in Pifo recently, the other one in Tema. All of that have been completed. We are generally reviving the health sector with a revival of the National Health Insurance Scheme, allow people better access to healthcare. Under security, the security services were in very poor state. We've retooled the Ghana Police Service. We gave them new cars. We have revamped their ammunitions, increased the morale of the police service, and generally giving them some. And then we have also done a lot of recruitment since we came into office to try and beef up the police service and reduce the citizen to police ratio in our country. And the sports development, when we came, sports infrastructure was also in very poor state. For example, in the whole of Ghana, there were only 2 AstroTurf pitches in Ghana. Since we have come, the number has increased to about 29, and we are still in the process of constructing more. Ghana has gotten the right to host the 2023 13th African Games. And on the basis of that, we are constructing a new National Olympic Stadium complex to be able to allow us to host this program. I want to talk about including the marginalized communities of our country, which would then involve me directly as a minister for inner cities and Zongo development. For a very long time, inner city people and Zongo people were living in the periphery in the sense that they were not part of mainstream developmental agenda. And therefore, to make them a part of mainstream developmental agenda, we established the Ministry of Inner City and Zongo Development. We then set up the Zongo Development Fund, with which then we are doing a lot of development interventions in Zongo communities. As I speak with you, under the Zongo Development Fund, we have instituted what we call the Targeted Education Improvement Program with the Islamic Education Unit, which program is to upgrade at least 2 junior high schools in every region to model schools. If you look at all the other education units, like Catholic Education Unit or Presby or Anglican and etc., they all have schools of excellence in there that people can boast that when you go to, say, a Matthias of Uganda, for example, you are likely to do well. But when you look at the Islamic Education Unit, to which many of our Zongo people go, Islamic Education Unit schools, it's all flat. There is no single school that you call a school of excellence. So under the Targeted Education Improvement Program with the Zongo Development Fund, we are providing all the core books, all the core textbooks that are needed in these model schools that we are creating. We are providing them all the resources. We are paying the teachers extra, recruiting extra qualified teachers to these schools in order to bring them up. And now when you look in our Manifesto 2020, we have also said that on the back of developing these model junior high schools, in our next term, we are going to build 1 senior high school and 1 Islamic senior high school in all the 16 regions of Ghana. So i.e. 16 model senior high schools in every region of our 16 regions of Ghana. These would be, if you want, the places where these young boys and girls, when they finish junior high school, will be able to go to in order to get the kind of education that they want. You know, most of the time, there is this fight, even in the public space, between Muslim parents and some schools, which are in the Anglican units or Presby units and so on, that when Muslim children go to their schools, they compel them to attend church, they don't allow them to pray, and etc., etc. And the president has always argued that this country, the majority of the people are both Muslim and Christian. And therefore, for us to have a cohesive society, a society that is closely knit and united for the progress and development that we envisage for our country, we need to ensure and we have to put in mechanisms that would allow all of the people who belong to these religious persuasions to become a part of the mainstream development agenda, which is exactly what the Zongo Development Fund has done. If you go around the country, we are building sports infrastructure, we are increasing or building the capacities of small businesses in Zongo communities, especially in the cuisine industry, because Zongo cuisine, in my view, is amongst the best that you can get in our country. And these women get virtually nothing for the kinds of work that they do. With the intervention of the National Board for Small-Scale Industries, we've improved a lot of the businesses in these Zongo communities. Many of them now have motorbikes with which they are doing food deliveries and so on. So this is what we are telling the Ghanaian people to consolidate. And how do we consolidate these gains? We can only consolidate it by voting for Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo on December 7th, so that we can move to the next stage of our development agenda. So when we come back in January, what will be the next stage? We said protecting our progress, transforming Ghana for all. What will be the transformation that we seek to bring in the next stage of our development agenda? We have said that in the next stage of our development agenda, we are going to aggressively pursue the digitization of the economy. Where the world is, the 21st century is basically a century of technology, or if you want, a technological century. Now, by technological century, what we mean is that people are going paperless all over the world. Everybody is going paperless. What you have with going paperless is also that it reduces human-to-human interaction and therefore helps to reduce the incidence of corruption. My understanding from the reports that I read in the past 2 days is that with the digitization that we have done in the port, revenues have increased, leakages have been blocked, and a lot is being done to be able to mobilize revenues for our country. Today in Ghana, there's mobile money interoperability, which basically means that you have basically a bank account on your mobile phone that allows us to transact business across networks, not just across networks, from bank accounts to mobile networks and so on. That whole process is going to be deepened. In our next term also, we will seek to build the private sector by investing more in the development of entrepreneurial culture. We want to build a resilient financial services sector for economic transformation. I already talked about the near collapse of the financial sector and the kind of danger that it held for our people. I was in cabinet these last year when we passed the law to basically make Ghana a petroleum hub. We want to make Ghana an aviation and logistic hub. We want to make Ghana also a financial services hub in our next term. What that does is that it brings people to your country. You are able to mobilize enough foreign investment in your country. You are able to earn more foreign exchange and therefore to be able to reduce the burden that is on the city. You know, when people complain about, if you want, exchange rate disparity between the cedi and the dollar, it's all because we are not producing more. If you are producing more and importing less, the cedi will be strengthened. I mean, that's the layman's economics that I understand. So we want to be able to do all of that. We have already strengthened the financial sector and the business environment by passing a number of acts since we came. The Freedom of the Right to Information Act, which we passed, would allow people to be able to access and ask for information and be given. The Office of the Special Prosecutor Act, the Public Financial Management Regulations, the Witness Protection Act. We've redone the Companies Act 2019. We've done Corporate Restructuring and Insolvency Act. And therefore, in the next term, we want to be able to move beyond that to do a lot more to be able to, if you want, bring back confidence in the private sector to allow people to come easily into our country, knowing that they will be protected by the laws of our country, even if somebody seeks to shortchange them. Under the National Entrepreneurship and Innovation Plan, we plan to support young people between 15 and 35 years, which we have already done. I mean, this group of people make about 34% of the population. We've under the YEA, NEIP, NAPCO, and such other youth programs, we've been able to contain a lot of these young people, give them a livelihood, and make them productive in the economy. In our next government, we intend to deepen these processes. We intend specifically to enable industries under the 1D1F project that are specifically youth targeted. And I can tell you, there are a number of young people who have the capacity to do that. There is this young lady called Aisha Liman, who won the presidential pitch and got an amount of 75,000 cedis to invest in her small business. Now, this Aisha Liman is basically producing about 1,000 packs of fat-free quality breakfast made from cereals, just millet and wheat, and it is selling fast. It's now in major shops across the big cities of our country. And this is just 75,000 cities that she won under the presidential pitch program. So it means that if we can support many more young people like that, they will be able to do a lot of wonderful things in our country. So basically, I would want to conclude my presentation by saying that over the last 3.5 years, we have stabilized and prudently managed the economy. We have a more disciplined fiscal management, a predictable monetary policy, a sound banking system. We have managed to reduce inflation and interest rates. There's better access and delivery of public services. Marginalized communities like people in inner cities and Zongo communities are more included in our governance process and our governance structure. Young people who hitherto finished university and formed unemployed graduate associations are no longer having to form unemployed graduate associations thanks to NAPCO. Many big industries that had collapsed, like the Obuasi mine, for example, was revived and restarted in June 2018 by the president. Since then to date, 4,163 people are employed in the mine. And so far, $502 million has been spent directly in the mine, and much of it goes to Ghanaian people. So we plan in our next term to deepen all of these processes that we have started. We intend for these free senior high school graduates who are going into university. Already, we have started the provision of free Wi-Fi for all public universities. There's already free Wi-Fi now in, I think, over 400 senior high schools across the country. A project that we intend to finish by the first quarter of next year, so that every senior high school in our country will have free Wi-Fi, which will facilitate learning. We have talked in our manifesto about the rent support program, whereby people who can show evidence of employment, they have a digital address where they can be identified, will be supported to start off life, to pay their rent. You know, rent is a big issue in our country. And for many young people who finish university and are desirous of starting a life, the rent alone is a major challenge. And so because of that, we have this program in place where we shall be helping to pay people's rent. We pay directly to the landlords, and then through your employers, government will find a way to recoup that money. Those are the things that I will say to conclude my presentation, or even if you want a 25-minute summary of what our manifesto is for 2020. I'm sure it's not everything that I have mentioned, and I have not been able to talk about the railway sector and what do we call it, the sector about environment and all of those. But I'm sure as the questions come, I will have the opportunity to be able to fill in any gaps that I have left. Once again, thank you for the opportunity of this delivery.
Thank you very much, Honorable. I think I must say that it's been very impressive how much ground you've been able to cover within this short period. And the questions are coming in hard and fast. There's one, for example, about whether you're going to implement a tax waiver for health workers, as has been, said. But I think we have somebody more capable to moderate this session. And given your discipline with the time, I think you've given us enough time to engage in a question and answer session. So ladies and gentlemen, permit me to invite a lady that I admire greatly, somebody who's worked for over 20 years in the media landscape in Ghana as a top-class award-winning journalist, has now moved on into corporate Ghana. Let's welcome Jifa Bampo to moderate the question and answer session subsequently. Jifa, over to you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Soji Tete. I think you can just let me address you as Soji because we're classmates. And nice to see you and nice to speak to you again, Honorable Dr. MUSTAPHA HAMID. And
yes.
So we have a lot of questions, and I will start off really by just slightly taking you back. I know you've always been politically active, but this would be your third stint, I would say, in terms of driving a presidential campaign since 2008. Looking back at what it was then, and when you look at the situation now, can you compare and tell us whether this is a more difficult challenge in terms of working towards seeking re-election as opposed to 2008, where you lost initially and then again in 2012?
Well, that's a very difficult question. Yes, but I must say that 2008 was the hardest of all the three that I've been at the forefront of. 2008, 2012, and 2016. 2008 was the hardest. Hardest because I guess, number one, it was the first time my candidate, now President Akufo-Addo, was running for that high office. Therefore, people were not too sure to give him an opportunity or not to give him an opportunity. Will he be able to do it? And it was a difficult call. Number two was that we had already been in office for 2 terms. And for those of us who are students of politics, we are told that on average, between 8 and 10 years, people all over the world, it's like between 8 and 10 years, people generally get fed up with a government. So after the 8 years, we were in a difficult situation. We had done 2 terms, and considering the history of the Fourth Republic, where all parties have done 2 terms, it was really difficult to try and break that jinx. So it was a more difficult campaign. And that's the first time we started talking about free senior high school and all of this. And people didn't believe it. People said, how is that possible? In the central region, they told us, free SHS, and so on. 2012, another difficult campaign. 2016.
2012 actually went into a runoff.
Yes, exactly. I remember. So that was also a very difficult campaign because then candidate Mills, who eventually became president, was also running. No, 2012 was not, was John Mahama. 28 was Mills.
28 was Mills,
yeah. Yes. 2012 was also the NDC's attempt at getting re-election. That's the point that I wanted to make. It was their attempt at getting a re-election. And so, they were telling people, oh, every government has done 2 terms. Every government has done 2 terms. Why is it that we alone, the NPP, want us to do 1 term? Please give us a 2nd term to be able to finish our agenda and so on. So it was also a kind of difficult campaign. President Mills had died. There was some sympathy for his vice president and etc., etc. But 2016, quite frankly, 2016 election, I was very clear in my mind that we were winning. I was very, very clear in my mind because, first of all, by 2016, as I said in my initial presentation, things had gone haywire in the country. Interest rates had skyrocketed. Inflation was going through the roof. Unemployment was rife. Unemployed Graduates Association, industries had collapsed, 5 years of doomsaw, all of those things, cancellation of nurses' allowances, cancellation of teachers' allowances, everything was haywire. And so really and truly, I was confident that the level to which the country had sunk, they were going to give us a try, even if they had rejected us 2 times prior. So I was very confident. And indeed, well, I didn't expect a 1 million vote difference, quite frankly. I mean, it was beyond my expectation. I remember it's only the president now, then candidate Akufo-Addo, who kept telling me that, Mustapha, I will win by a huge margin. And I said, oh, I just know we'll win, but I'm not sure it will be huge. He says, you wait and see. So really, 2016, we knew we were going to win. 2020, you know, because of coronavirus, the campaigning has been sort of restricted. It's not been as mass as it's always been in the past. But I can tell you that in this campaign too, I'm very relaxed. I am very, very confident that we are winning on Monday. I am very confident because of the records that I just enumerated in my presentation, all of the good things that we have done in 4 years. And we keep saying that we believe that no government in its first 4 years in office in this Fourth Republic has done the kinds of things that President Akufo-Addo has done. And so on the basis of that, we are very, very confident. And now to make matters easier, the NDC are not presenting us with any new challenge. They basically are handing us the same man whose record in office caused their disastrous performance in 2016. And nothing has changed. Fortunately for us, he's in this election campaign, he's flip-floppy, he's wishy-washy, he says something today, tomorrow he backtracks, and so on. So he's very incoherent and inconsistent. And so all of that makes it my job much easier as deputy campaign manager to be able to sell my candidate. So if you ask me to rate the campaigns, I'll tell you the more difficult one was 28, difficult 2012, easier 2016, much easier 2020.
All right. Let me read some of the questions that have come through, but if you want to ask a question, I think you can raise your hand or use the icons, and then I can call you if you want to ask directly. We have 2 questions on free SHS, so I'll bundle those together, and Honorable Hamid, then you can answer. This one is from Babangida Yusuf. He says, Honorable Minister, when you're asked to rate the percentage, what rate would you give to the Zongo community in terms of taking free SHS education seriously? So I guess he would like to know, are the Zongo members of the Zongo community taking the opportunity provided via free SHS seriously? The other question related to that comes from Paul AJ. And he asks, SHS expansion is laudable, but are we chasing quantity at the expense of quality? SHS running shifts clearly has not been accompanied by the needed capacity and school infrastructural development. So I think that's the question on free SHS. So you can take those 2, and then if someone wants to ask a question, we'll bring that person in.
All right. So in respect of whether the Zongo communities are taking free SHS seriously, yes, they are. You asked me to put it in percentage. I would say that they are taking 100% advantage of it. You know, in the Zongo communities, there is something that we call Fi Sabilillah. Fi Sabilillah basically is to say that contributions that we collect for the sake of Allah. And any time that secondary schools reopened in the past, prior to 2017, in many mosques across Ghana, we were doing Fi Sabilillah to collect fees, to collect money from people in the mosque to be able to pay the school fees of Zongo young people to be able to go to secondary school. That's what we're doing. Since 2017, now when you go around the Zongo community, they tell you that they are collecting Fi Sabilillah for other purposes. Nobody is collecting Fi Sabilillah anymore, specifically to pay anybody's school fees to be able to go to secondary school. And so that is how come I know that the free senior high school is being taken very seriously by the Zongo people. Now, regarding quality and quantity, clearly, the WASSCE results that were just released, which have been proven to be the best WASSCE results in the last 4 years, tells you that quality has not been compromised at all. I mean, the pass rates are phenomenal, especially in the traditional subjects that pose a challenge to people, math, science, and English. So, first of all, the WASSCE results put paid to the argument about quality and quantity. Now, secondly, about double track. So far, nobody has been able to prove or show us that you could get 100,000 young people who before free SHS were falling out from junior high school because they couldn't pay the fees. Now you are going to get 100,000 more people, and then how are you going to accommodate them and ensure that they learn? I mean, the logical thing is a double track. Let me tell you, the universities are track system in Ghana, quadruple. Look, we have the regular university system, which wasn't there when we were in university. We have the sandwich program. We have evening classes, and we have the distance learning program. Let anybody tell me that the quality of university education in Ghana has been compromised because we have innovated in running a quadruple track system in our universities as a way of ensuring that the increased population in universities are taken care of. So if there is increased population in secondary education, of course, you have to devise an innovative way of accommodating them and ensuring that everybody goes to school. I would prefer that everybody is in school and learning than a few people only getting opportunity to go to school and the majority of children falling by the streets and becoming drug addicts and going to jail and etc., etc. So the only way, and we have said that double track is going to be eliminated in 5 years, because we are building a massive infrastructure in all these secondary schools. My own school that I attended, and we had Dr. Soji Tete.
Hello, Honorable Hamid, you are on mute all of a sudden. If you can just check your mic.
I'm surprised. Hello?
Okay, yes, somebody else was also speaking, so we can just keep our mics on mute so that we don't interfere.
Yeah, because I saw they said host had muted me. Okay, so I was making the point that Boku Secondary School, where I did O-level.
Okay, just hold on. Mr. Jeremiah, I think it's your mic that keeps coming on. If you can just put it on mute so that it doesn't interfere with Honorable Hamid's presentation. Thank you. All right,
yeah.
Honorable Hamid.
So many, I'm just making the last point that many schools have already gone off the double track. My own school, Boku Secondary School, is a typical example. It's gone off the double track. The last time I visited there, when I went to Boku, the headmaster said to me, "Oh, we've applied to go off double track. See, government has given us enough infrastructure, which are basically empty, so all of our students can come." And when I came, the Minister for Education acknowledged that he had gotten their application to get off double track and subsequently wrote to them to get off double track. So we are getting schools off double track gradually, and they will
But Honorable Hamid, there's one of our guests online who says he feels that using the university analogy is not exactly accurate to compare with secondary school. The university system obviously is different in the sense that you have lecturers, different faculties. These are much larger institutions handling different courses, BAs, PhDs, MAs, MPhils, and the like. So the general calendar allows for these multiplicity of courses. However, at the secondary school level, I think the concern is part of it is because some kids are at home, others are in school, they have to shift. If we probably had enough infrastructure, that would not happen. Everyone would then go to school and there wouldn't be this kind of anxiety, because some of the students, when they come home, then they go and attend classes while they are home.
Okay, first of all, it's not true that the university system is different. I'm a university lecturer. I'm sure you know that. At the University of Cape Coast, I was teaching undergraduates in regular time. And then during the sandwich, during the long break, I would stay back and teach undergraduates too. And then I would teach masters in regular time and teach masters during sandwich. So it is not true that only one stream of people, there's sandwich for both undergraduates and there is sandwich for masters. There's distance learning for masters. There's distance learning for sandwich. So it's not true that it's a complex system and it is this, that. The same lecturers, we were tired teaching it, but we were doing it because that is the only way that we can accommodate the increasing numbers of students who have entered university. So it's not true, first of all. Now, second, if you say, which is what our opponents were saying, but you see now they are not making that argument anymore. They were saying exactly what you are saying, that, oh, we should have waited 20 years to build all the infrastructure before we do free senior high school. I am a product of free senior high school education because I was born in the North. I'm a Northerner, and we were already running the Northern Scholarship. If Nkrumah had said that he was going to wait to get all educational infrastructure in the North fixed, I wouldn't be here talking to you as Dr. MUSTAPHA and as Minister for Inner City and Zongo Development. He got to go on that tangent because we were already 80 years behind the South in terms of educational attainment. And then he was building the infrastructure as time went on. It's the same thing that we are doing today. We are saying that after 63, 64 years of independence, we cannot wait another 20 years. That will take us to what? 85, 90 years after independence before we start making education accessible and available to the mass of the people. Our argument is that we can't wait that long.
All right,
and I am saying that we have started it and we will go on and continue to build the infrastructure until we eradicate the double track.
All right, so let me, did anyone have a question they would like to ask, please, before I read anyone? You can go into the chat box and click on raise hand, and I'll see your hand raised and I can call you. But anyone who wants to put their question forward now, just unmute yourself and make yourself as brief as possible. Thank you. Okay, I don't seem to have any takers, so I will read the other two questions that are also similar. So we'll bundle them so you can give us one answer. And this one,
yes,
is that Mr. Ajay?
Yes.
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, so again, I do not mean to go into a debate with MUSTAPHA, but I think he is making all these apples to oranges comparisons. One was the university one, which I'm not going to belabor right now. But the second one is this Nkrumah analogy. I mean, when you were attending free SHS back in the days, what was the population of Ghana? What was the school children population in northern Ghana? So things have moved on, right? And so we are still using more or less some of the infrastructure we used in Nkrumah days. So all we are saying is it's good for you to have this noble idea. But then for 4 years, you still haven't been able to expand the infrastructure at the SHS level adequately to make a difference in the number of school children that should be accommodated. You knew going into it that this is the capacity we are likely to need, looking at the proportion of children who need to go to SHS in Ghana. That's the point we are making. You know, I think we're having an honest debate. Maybe we should just avoid this.
It's fine. It's fine, Paul. And since you raised it, then it takes me to Honorable Hamid and ask, all right, so we started the program already. The WASI results came out and they did relatively well according to the data. But what is the plan to then improve the infrastructure? Because this policy is in motion. And the NDC's presidential candidate has says they're not going to cancel it. They're going to come in and do what they can to make it better. But tell us in terms of the infrastructure, what the plans are going forward then.
Well, they are not plans. Go around the university. If you've been watching the documentaries that we've been playing on television this past several months, we have told you that about 1,700 development projects have gone on across the country, Anglo Senior High School, Dadiesu Secondary School, everywhere, including, as I keep saying, the one that the school that I attended, Boku Secondary School. Why? Boku Secondary School is able to get off the double track because of the infrastructure that has been put there that now enables us to get off the double track. So I'm saying to you that the infrastructure is being built. As for the argument that we could have waited 20 years to finish building the infrastructure before we do it, well, it will be ad infinitum. It's not a debate that we can end. We believe that we didn't need to wait 20 years.
I don't think anybody is arguing that, with all due respect. I think all we are saying is it all comes with planning. When you decide to start a program, you kind of also plan ahead and then solve the problems as you go along. That's what we are saying. Nobody's saying.
Yeah, but we are solving the problems as we go along. That's what I'm telling you. I'm pointing to you that over 1,700 projects are ongoing across. And I've given you a typical example. You can call somebody in Boku and say, Boku said, didn't they start double track? Haven't they gone off double track? Why have they gone off double track? They've gone off double track because the infrastructure has been put in place and they are gone. And so as the infrastructure in all these other schools that are going off come upstream, they will go off. That's the point I'm making to you. So It's not as if we have folded our hands and said, ad infinitum is going to be double track. No, it will be eliminated, all of it.
All right. So let me move on to health because we have some questions on health. And this one says, is from Bismarck. It says, can the Honorable Minister elaborate more on the free specialist postgraduate training and why nurses and other clinical practitioners are not part of it? And this one relates to health workers though, but I'll ask, it says, is the next MPP government considering re-implementing the auto tax waiver for health workers? And this one says, can the minister also address the specifics of the NHIS expanded access and access to free basic healthcare? Were you able to get those three, Honorable?
Yeah. A minute, I was writing.
Yes, so I'll just repeat them quickly. So one of it asks, will you reintroduce the auto waiver for health workers? The other one talks about addressing the specifics of the NHIS expanded access and access to free basic health care. And the final one asks, can you elaborate a bit more on the free specialist postgraduate training and why nurses and other clinical practitioners are not part of that program? So let us know which one you're starting with. Thank you.
Okay. So you see, when the questioner says nurses and so on are not part of it, let's digest the thing. We're talking about specialist postgraduate training. Okay. The nursing profession, the medical profession is a general field, but there are specialties. And if we are saying that people who are going to do postgraduate studies in certain critical specialist areas, you see, sometimes these incentives are also put in place in order to encourage people to able to take up training in certain areas that many people do not want to go into. So it is an incentive for us to get people to go into areas where, for most of the time, we are found wanting in terms of the personnel to be able to operate in that area. So if we do that, we are going to do free general postgraduate training for all categories of health workers. I'm not sure that it would defeat our intention of specifically trying to attract proper training for specialist areas. So it is the purpose for which we have crafted it. That's the problem. Now, number two is that access to healthcare. I'll come there before I come to the auto tax waiver. Access to free healthcare is what the NDC is promising. And we are saying it is better to deepen the national health insurance scheme, get it more stronger, put money in it, and let it work for everybody. Because what you do is that if you're listening to the NDC ads on radio, there's this young lady telling her grandpa, have you heard the good news, grandpa? That NDC says that we are going to go to hospital for free. The question, their own ad, in their own ad, the grandpa asks the young girl, but will they then abolish national health insurance? And the young girl says, no, they won't abolish health insurance. And then they move on. But you see, if NDC themselves are asking themselves in their own advertisement whether free primary healthcare will not destroy national health insurance scheme, then you know that of course it will destroy the national health insurance scheme. Because if you are going to access healthcare for free, what is your motivation to go and pay national health insurance? What are you paying national health? So in time, the national health insurance system will collapse. And in time, they will say that, oh, the economy is not strong enough to support this and support that. So we are back to cash and carry. So I am saying to whoever is asking me the question that We do not subscribe to free primary health care. We believe in the National Health Insurance Scheme. It is an NPP project. We thought it through, and we believe that it holds the best trump card for us to be able to make healthcare accessible to people. The question about whether we are considering an auto tax waiver for health workers, I'm not sure that it is a question that I can answer here for the economic management team of our party. Quite frankly, I don't want to come and make commitments on behalf of government that I do not have the power later on to hold them to be able to fulfill. So, but I'll check that. If the Center for Social Justice is available, I can check that again. And if indeed that is our position, I'll let you know, and then you can put it on your platforms for the questioner to be able to access it.
All right, thank you very much, Honorable Hamid. We have a questioner. His name is not identified, it's just identified. Okay, I think his name has come up. Ernesto from Kwabre East. You can unmute yourself, Ernesto, and then go ahead and ask your question. Okay, so I'll ask a question while we wait for Ernesto to come through. So, Honorable Hamid, I will shift you away from health to the economy. So, as we all know, the Akufo-Addo administration came into office in 2017, and at that time, growth rates were 8.1%, but growth rates have declined since then, and for 2020, it's actually going to be under 1%. I guess many would wonder, what confidence should we have in the economy to actually bounce back, especially after the inflictions of COVID? And this is also worsened by the fact that, in as much as you've talked about NAPCO, I think the last 3 or 4 years is the single time where I have seen lots of high educated professionals who are out of work. Many professionals who were in the financial sector are out of work. Many professionals in other sectors, SMEs, in oil and gas and the like, have lost their jobs because of changes in the economy. And I'm not talking about young people trying to get into the job market. These are breadwinners. So I guess what assurance and what are the plans to rejuvenate, revitalize the economy so that people who probably lost their jobs can get a job and can continue to do the things they want to do?
Well, of course, I'm sure that you know that the effects of COVID-19 are worldwide. Ghana is not the only country that is reeling under the pressure of COVID-19. But again, Ghana is rebounding much, much, much quicker. I mean, the projection by World Bank and IMF and all the international finance organizations is that countries all over the world would really get out of the crisis in which they are, economic crisis in which they are, earliest by 2024. But as you can see, Ghana is already rebounding much quicker than we thought. And I will quote what Bloomberg said of the Ghanaian economy under COVID a few days ago. It says, and I quote, "Ghana was one of the first countries in sub-Saharan Africa to lower interest rates to counter the virus shock, and its economy has performed better than forecast, even as the pandemic stalled activity and oil prices slumped," unquote. So about 2 weeks ago, we launched what we call the Ghana Cares program, which is the comprehensive program that the Ministry of Finance has drawn to be able to get us out of the COVID crisis much quicker than we would get. As for the unemployment situation, of course, we will make a huge dent on those numbers, with our accelerated program of industrialization. Many young people, as we continue to expand our industrialization program, are going to get onto the job market. Even the NAPCO thing that you have talked about, I'm sure recently you've seen in the newspapers, many of the government agencies in particular, which have NAPCO trainees, are beginning to absorb them into the system as permanent workers, because NAPCO is not a permanent arrangement. It is our view or our vision that within 3 years, people will be able to get enough training either to set up their own businesses or be absorbed by the user agencies in which they are, and etc. And that is already happening. It's all in the papers, you can see. And so really and truly, I think that we have done well, even under COVID, mainly because of the reliefs that we have given to businesses and to people, which then allows them to be able to make some savings to be able to carry on with their businesses. So I'm confident that earlier than 2024, Ghana would be able to completely get out of the COVID crisis. Before COVID, we inherited an economy that was growing at 3.6, okay? And then we took it to, I think, about 6.8 at the end of 2019 before COVID hit us. So really, we were on a growth trajectory until COVID hit. So we, the people who took it from the low 3.6 onto that growth trajectory, are very capable, if the economy is handed back to us on Monday, to continue to put it back on the path of growth and progress.
All right. Let me call on William Bakun to answer his question, to ask his question. William.
All right, good evening.
Hey.
Yes, mine is not a question. All in all, happy with the way he addressed Central Region. He said the government was bringing SHS, free SHS, and the Central Region said, yeah, the MP free SHS.
No, I didn't say Central Region. I said some people in the Central Region told us that some people in the coastal area, maybe they were NDC people taunting us, I don't know. But yes, I was there. Some people told me, I'm just saying, but I'm not saying Central. How can the whole Central Region say that? I didn't say the whole Central Region.
Yeah, that is what I wanted to address, because you are still campaigning and we should be a bit circumspect in what we say.
All right, thank you very much, William, and thank you, Honorable Hamid, for providing that clarity. This one is from Mohammed Shaibu. It says, I have a degree in mechanical engineering. I want to know if there's a plan for an apprenticeship program where one could enroll for capacity building. Another question I will bring to you now, Honorable Hamid, in relation to that. So you did talk about the Ghana Cares program, but is it really enough to restore and revitalize the economy? Because a lot of the programs are targeting SMEs, they are targeting businesses as well, large businesses as well. And it also is looking at giving some tax breaks to companies that employ people and all that. But how are we going to make sure that these benefits actually reach the people that are, that really need them? And then, of course, people like MUSTAPHA, who talk about having a degree in mechanical engineering and need internships. How do you then target them to get to the right place?
I agree with you. I think that there are various, sometimes it's, I don't know whether it is that lack of access to the information that we ourselves are not accessing the information, or maybe the agencies that are responsible for these programs are not publicizing them enough for people to be able to access them. But certainly I agree with the questioner that we need a comprehensive apprenticeship program that allows people after school, even if they are not immediately employed, to be able to develop their skills and improve themselves. And in that sense, you may even find that after the apprenticeship program that he may not even really need a job, that he would have been able to learn practically by himself to be able to even set up on his own, which of course is always the best option, self-employment. Under the Zongo Development Fund, we have these apprenticeship programs for people, which, I mean, at the last count, about 1,200 young people had gone through this apprenticeship program, learned various things. But this is normally at the, if you want, at the lower levels of the educational ladder. I'm not talking about graduates like himself. For the graduate one, what we did for them was in the field of ICT. ICT graduates, 100 of them, we took them through an apprenticeship program. We got some German IT companies to help. Many of them are now employed in these companies. And we got companies to come and they pitched to these companies, and many of them have been employed. So in my sector, I can speak for my sector that indeed we have these apprenticeship programs for people of Zongo extraction to be able to do. But as he said, I will find out if there's a comprehensive national apprenticeship program for all other Ghanaian people. But certainly I'll take it as a suggestion that I can sell to the Ministry of Science and Technology, because it's in engineering.
Yeah, maybe it would be good to have, if there's a place that everyone knows, if they go there, they can get that information. I think that would be helpful.
It makes sense.
Yeah, so I'll be moving on to two controversial issues now. So this administration, whether by its actions or inactions, has allowed what some would describe as interference or victimization of people like the Auditor General and the Special Prosecutor, which has led to them taking leave under duress or abandoning the job entirely through resignation. Now, these individuals were, seen as beacons of hope in fighting corruption. Certainly, the current state of affairs does not match the NPP's anti-corruption drive of 2016. Your thoughts on this, as many activists, journalists, have been very critical of the current administration, saying that they are not fighting corruption, and also quotes the Auditor General back that if you try to fight corruption, corruption will fight you back. The NPP is no more the anti-corruption champion it presented us. Your thoughts on that?
We are. It's unfortunate that that whole Auditor General should take his leave, which of course is statutory. He ought to take that leave. And the president instructed him to take. I don't see how that
it's about him. I don't think it's just about him taking the leave. I guess it's the context. So there was a court case involving the senior minister. And so some see it as quite convenient to get him out. And then when he indicates that, well, I won't go on leave, then you decide to, the appointing authority slaps more days on the leave. Obviously, by the time the time frame is all over, all is done and dusted. And I guess the court rulings in recent times kind of add on to the suspicion and the perception.
Well, first of all, you also know that subsequently, a lot has been revealed that shows that there was really nothing that the senior minister had done, which the Auditor General was fighting or trying to unearth, or there was nothing like that. It was all, with the greatest respect, it's unfortunate this question has been asked, but I have to say it. Fighting corruption really is not showmanship. It's not coming on radio, television, being a radio pundit and shouting about fighting corruption. Fighting corruption is sitting down and doing the real job of identifying people who have been corrupt and then deal with the matter. So we are not talking about the fact that Domelevo audited anybody or any government institution or any government person found established wrongdoing on the part of the fellow, or having gone to the Public Accounts Committee and the fellow has been found to be guilty, and then the president said, because of that, go on leave. No, it had nothing to do with that. So we can go on and on about it. It's unfortunate that there is some perception out there which has not been helped by the CSOs and the posture that they took. My understanding is that they've subsequently gone to court to challenge the president's order for the Auditor General to go on leave and so on. As to use your former workplace, there's a language that you guys like to use in the place at Joy FM. Let's see how it pans out. So I would say that we are still very committed to fighting corruption. I enumerated in my initial presentation, my 25 minutes that you gave me to do my presentation, about all the laws that we have passed in this country which seek to strengthen anti-corruption agencies. We have increased the the budgets to all the anti-corruption agencies to enable them to do their work. When the Shraj recently brought its findings against the former PPA boss, the president fired him. So if anti-corruption agencies really work on something and they come out conclusively to say that there's been wrongdoing, action will be taken. But what the president has been saying all this while is that really and truly, we cannot, because Jifa Bampo doesn't like Hamid, say that, oh, Hamid is a corrupt guy, he's done this, that, and then on the basis of that, the president fires me or something to that effect. You cannot operate, you cannot fight corruption on the basis of people's say-so. That's what the president has been saying. But I want to assure the Ghanaian people that we are very committed to fighting corruption and making it an unattractive venture for people who want to engage in it. We are still very much committed to that thing. If we would follow the laws, all the laws that are in place, the public procurement laws, right to information, the Companies Act, all of those things, whistleblowers, if we are all following the thing to the thing is that Jifa, many Ghanaians actually don't even know what these laws entail, and they don't even know the remedies that they have and the rights that they have in respect of these laws in helping all of us to be able to make corruption unattractive. So I guess
which is even the more reason why the fact that people like Domelevo, who kind of provide inspiration, or Martin Amidu gives people some hope, the fact that they are out kind of discourages many. So I mean, that's just something, I guess.
Well, that's okay. I'm equally disappointed, and everybody is disappointed that Martin Amidu left. He shouldn't have left. He should have stayed in the system and help us to fix the system. And I hope that whoever gets the job in the future will stay. I mean, in spite of what they may perceive to be whatever their frustrations are. Everybody faces frustrations. I'm sure when you were a journalist, you had frustrations in your workplace and so on. And wherever you are now, I'm sure there are frustrations there. But that should not be enough. The higher goal of saving the public purse should be what should guide us. We are committed to that matter. We pray that everybody else gets committed to that matter.
All right, I'll come to one more question. Oh, sorry, go ahead. I didn't see who was unmuted. Please go ahead and mention your name.
Yeah, this is Paul Ajay, and I just wanted to ask Mustapha. So, just the immediate past discourse between the two of you, you said it sounds like that people do not even know what avenues they have to address issues of corruption and concerns and things like that, and he agreed to that. So, as a policymaker, what can we do? I mean, I know this probably is not in your purview, but what can we do to improve it? Because it's not just about passing the laws when people don't even know about them, but what can we do to have these things publicized for people to know what to do and what to look out for?
Well, I agree. Jifa, can I answer?
Yes, please go ahead, and then I'll come back to you.
Okay.
Thank you,
So
Paul.
first of all, I just want to agree with him that yes, as policymakers, perhaps it also behoves on us to do enough publicity and create the necessary public awareness about these laws. Lately, the president, as you can see, has taken a very special interest in NCC, the National Commission for Civic Education, which actually is the right organization for ensuring that citizens are properly educated and on all of these governance laws. They didn't even have basic vehicles. Many of their offices were closed, and et cetera, et cetera. The president has moved recently. Vehicles have been donated to them. They've been giving some more budgetary support. Recently, they asked that they wanted to do some more recruitment so that all of their district offices could have staff to operate. That financial clearance was granted, and I saw advertisements in the papers to the effect that they wanted personnel at NCC and so on. So hopefully, that organization would stand vibrant enough to be able to help in these public education processes.
All right. Now, this other question I have for you, and if anyone has a question to ask, you can please prepare to do so. I remember early in the NPP's administration, I got into a professional tussle with you about the number of ministerial and government appointees. And absolutely. I remember we had a big banter in the early days because you were Minister of Information. So I guess we've had the 4 years of, the large, what some will describe in jest as elephant government. Your colleague, Honorable Haruna Idrisu, described it as elephant government. Now that you've done all these things and you believe, or the administration believes it's made progress, in the new administration or the next administration, if you win the elections, are we going to see a reduction in the number of political appointees and government appointees? Because like we all know, COVID has affected the economy. So we all need to tighten our belt, and that includes government appointees. And how many of them are appointed and paid for?
Jifa, anytime this matter is mentioned, I laugh because I remember very well the banter that we had. It's one of the heads you lose, tails you lose type of situation. You never really win. It's about what the perception of the people is and what on your side you think the reality is. But let me tell you, Jifa, in all honesty and sincerity, I'm no longer going to go into the nitty-gritties of the fact that more than half of these appointments, actually 70% of them, are already members of parliament who draw salaries as members of parliament. So this whole perception about the fact that they have put an extra burden on the public purse is not entirely true, because you are not, and nobody's allowed to take salary as a minister and as an MP. Normally you choose one. So really and truly, and the difference between a minister's salary and the MP's salary is really basically negligible, some 200 cedis or 300 cedis.
But Honorable Dr. Hamid, it's not just them. We are talking about presidential staffers. There are lots of communications and other spokespersons, specialists, and PAs who come on board into government agencies, and it's not just your ministries. You're talking about other MDAs, quasi-government institutions. I guess that's what everyone sees, but of course, ministers tend to be the folks. So that's my last controversial question.
Absolutely,
to you.
that's fine.
And
but
it's interesting that I asked this question at the beginning of the administration, and I'm able to ask it at the end.
But I like it. It's important. As for me, I like us to hold office holders to account. We can have an argument, even if we don't have a resolution. Now, I want to re-echo what the president says about this matter, and I'll leave it there. The president's argument has been all along that as far as he's concerned, it is the output at the end of our tenure that will vindicate, or even if you want, if there's any word like that, and vindicate his position that these are the number of appointees that he needs to be able to do his work. And I would say at the end of this 4 years, I'm taking it that the 4 years has come to a conclusion. That what I have seen, and from what I have been saying the whole evening from 5 p.m. until now, is that our performance in office this 4 years trumps the performance of every first-term government in the Fourth Republic. You remember in 2016, we were importing plantain, just plantain, basic food like plantain from Cote d'Ivoire. Today, Ghana is a net exporter of plantain, of maize, and all of these things that we used to import from other countries. Today, Ghana is importing all of these things thanks to the Planting for Food and Jobs campaign. So if you ask me what the 4 ministers are doing at the Ministry of Agri, for example, I'll point you to Ghana's increased agricultural productivity. In 2016, agriculture was growing at negative ratios. Today, agriculture is growing at positive ratios. Let me tell you, the Planting for Food and Jobs has led to 71% increase in national production of maize, 34% increase in paddy rice. Yields per hectare of maize, rice, and soya bean have also increased significantly. And we now export 19 different food items, including maize, to the rest of the ECOWAS countries. Jifa, so I am saying to you that these appointees who have been put, and I'm just using just the agri sector as an example, that I would think that if you had 2 ministers of agric before who were growing your agriculture at negative ratios, and you importing plantain and maize in order to survive, and you increase it to 4, and now you are self-sufficient in food, and now you are exporting food to outside countries, I would choose the 4 ministers over the 2 ministers. That's just me. As I said, it's not an argument that anybody can win or lose. You can say that you will choose the 2 ministers who will grow your economy, your agric at negative. I would choose the 4 ministers who would improve agricultural productivity.
All right, thank you very much, Honorable Dr. Hamid. And I think we've come to the end, but there's one message from someone who would like to read, and I think that's a nice wrap up. It says, I salute the government for their hard work and efforts they put in implementing these policies. The only government that has successfully implemented social interventions such as free education, water, electricity. Nonetheless, it gave private sector support and push that they needed. A government that has been able to improve industrialization under one district, one factory. The people can also feel the difference in that, as well as your self-motivation. All I can say is keep going and God continue to bless you. So I'll end that because that message comes from Samiha Suleiman, and I'll hand over to Dr. Felix Soji Tete. Sorry, I always have to say the Felix because that's what we grew up with. So Soji, I hand over to you.
No problem, Jifa.
Dr. Soji Tete, next time don't bring somebody who knows you.
Can you imagine? Anyway, Jifa is like a sister to me, so it's all good. But that was a really engaging and positive banter between the two of you. I really enjoyed listening to it, and I think it would have gone on and on and on forever. I know we have a few press officers in the house, so I'm sure they would also carry their stories and to express appreciation to them. But I'll call on my colleague, Stephen Kemeche from the Center for Social Justice to give us a vote of thanks and to close us. But Honorable, I want to say thank you. I'm just also reading that the National Chief Imam has awarded you the Best Minister and Muslim Politician of the Year. So kudos for that as well. Really good.
But actually, Best Muslim Minister, not Minister generally.
So, okay, Best
congratulations.
Muslim Minister.
Yes.
Congratulations, sir.
Congratulations. Yeah. Stephen Kemeche.
Honorable, I want to add my voice to that of my colleagues to congratulate you, first and foremost, for a sterling performance at this discussion. You've been able to answer all the questions that came up. You gave an exposition. When you started, you spoke or concentrated a lot more on what you have achieved in the last 4 years. And I was asking myself, when is he going to talk about 2020 manifesto? But you concluded very well by stating that that is the foundation on which you want to build on. And so thank you for the opportunity to join us at a very short notice. And we are most grateful to you. We hope that when we call on you again, you will honor our invitation. And as long as we remain in this space and based on your position in the party and in our political system, you always cross paths. We also want to thank all of you who have joined us today. For making the time to join us, we are more grateful. Just a few announcements before we go. This is the 4th in the series of our leadership dialogue. As you all know, the first we had Mr. Chatuchi Kata, and then the second we had Dr. Omaniboama, the former minister, and then we had His Excellency, the former President, John Mahama, and then we invited His Excellency, the current President, Nana Akufo-Addo, who due to scheduling difficulties mandated Honorable Dr. MUSTAPHA ABDUL-HAMID to engage us, and we are most grateful. So we will hold a lot more of these dialogue series, even after the elections into the following year, into 2021 and beyond. And we will be calling on you, and we hope that you always join us when we do so that we can debate and bring the issues out and move this country forward. Also want to announce that the CSJ, Soji has earlier mentioned in his introduction remarks, that we have 5 areas that we actually focus on: education and social transformation, health and equity, finance and economy, gender and social transformation, and then public policy. We are mentioning this because we are still open to receiving interest from various people who are interested in helping, contributing into these areas, analyzing policy, carrying out advocacy, and focusing as Soji mentioned earlier, how we can ensure that the more vulnerable among us also benefit from the national resources. So we are opening this up. If you are interested, kindly contact us through any of our media platforms. You can find us. We are on Facebook at facebook.com CSJ Ghana, or our website csjghana.org, and then also our Twitter handle twitter.com CSJ Ghana. So we are grateful once again for you joining us. We hope that when we call on you again, you will join us. Thank you again, and do have a great evening.
Thank you, and bye for now.
Thank you very much for having us.